right, stand up for safety. Our goal is zero harm. Now that ought to be a driving force to keep our children safe and sound in schools. Now remember that 2 weeks ago, some teenage girls, including their father and mother, were adopted in their homes in the suburbs of Abuja. And the relevance of this incident to us on Good Morning Nigeria is that if 16 million naira is not paid to the abductors, these children may not live to even contemplate going back to school, and some of them have already been killed. Absolutely. Nigerians are really deeply worried and concerned now by the increasing abductions of children of school age, either from their homes or schools. Absolutely clear. Under international law, every child, whether boy or girl, but especially the girl child, deserves the right to go to school in a safe environment, free from fear of being kidnapped or killed. Indeed, and the international law that Jume talks about provides that every child, male or female, and indeed adolescents, has the inalienable rights to be protected and of course to receive education. Unfortunately, the spate of attacks on our schools and environs, abductions of our school-age children, is driving renewed focus on the Safe School initiatives today. Yes, a renewed focus. We've talked about this topic several times on Good Morning Nigeria. If you remember, in 2022, statistics from West and Central Africa indicates 57 million children did not attend school. And as of March 2023, more than 13,000 schools remained closed in the region due to insecurity, specifically in Nigeria. Between April 2014 and December 2022, about 70 incidents of attack, or even more than that, have been recorded. So some are not reported. Yes, of course, including those that are not reported. So the Safe School Declaration, among other things, aims at mitigating the effects of armed conflicts on education, of course, by encouraging states and partner agencies in fostering a protective environment in a fragile and unstable context, especially in vulnerable conflict environments. And the basis, Jimmy, is to ensure that regardless of the vulnerability, in which children find themselves, that they continue to get sound and quality education at all times. So to remember, attention was paid to this area when the Chibok incident happened, and over 200 school children were kidnapped, and that has continued. Yeah, even before the Chibok girls were kidnapped, a lot of students were kidnapped in Borno State. That was unrecorded and unreported. Because I was there and I know the Chibok girls got a lot of publicity because Chibok is a central local government area in southern Borno, and with a lot of educated people there, so they were able to raise their voice against. Yes, even before Chibok girls, more than 500 girls were kidnapped before Chibok girls, actually. And you rightly said so clear. In an attempt to address this ugly situation, the Nigerian government amplified the resolve and domiciled under the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps a safe school response team with the responsibility of coordinating safety and security response against violence in schools and host communities. It's not just in schools. Look at what happened in the Bari area. They were picked from their homes. Yes, that's why earlier we said whether from their homes or schools or wherever they find themselves, children have that inalienable right, to go to school and be protected. Yeah, I was going through Twitter yesterday and Instagram also. There were a lot of reports of girls missing on their way home from school. Young girls. I think I saw more than 6. People, asking people to help them if they've seen these girls. More than 6, and I think I shared most of them on my handles. And
the situation is becoming quite alarming.
Alarming indeed, and we're not just talking about girls now. We're talking about children who should be in school, and indeed a lot is being expected with the new academic session already. The National Safe School Response Coordination Center is outlining strategies for students on self-protection. How can Nigeria turn the promises of this safe school declaration into action to enable our children learn in a conducive and safe environment? Now, this again will be our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Claire Adelabu Abdul-Razak, and I enjoy everyone to join us. Get high on Good Morning Nigeria, because as Jume and I always say, it's a very good drink to start your day.
Yes, very hot. A little spicy for those who take spicy tea.
Not spicy. Well, spicy and informative.
Yes, I am Juma Yusuf. It's good to have you join us. We're transmitting live on the network service of the NTA here in Abuja. We have our complimentary segments, newspaper review, business, and foreign. But before we go into these segments, we'd like to take them highlights on the morning news with our brother here, Olajide Bello. Good morning, Olajide.
I like the way you put it.
Yes.
Our brother here.
Yes.
All right, let me say good morning to my sisters too, Claire and Juma. Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to the news. The Federal Executive Council has directed various committees of the Presidential Council on Industrial Revitalization to hasten up conclusion and recommendations that will facilitate reduction in the rising cost of living and doing business in the country. This is one of the major issues that received attention of the Council during its meeting this Wednesday.
Charged to come up with the resolution from those committees as quickly as possible, and when this is implemented, we expect to see more creation of jobs, drop in prices of goods and services, and a total revival of the economy. And we assured the effect that we will do all that is necessary to come up with the resolution as quickly as possible, so that Nigerians can begin to enjoy the shared prosperity and the renewed hope agenda in 2024.
The federal government today approved the group life assurance for all federal government staff as submitted by the head of service.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has called for full-scale investigation as well as possible arrest and prosecution of those suspected to have caused the explosion which rocked parts of Ibadan Tuesday night. Reacting to the incident, Speaker Abbas described the explosion as unfortunate and terrifying, saying it is worrisome at a time government is tackling various security issues and threats to lives and property. The Speaker extends condolence to the government and people of Oyo State while praying God to comfort the victims and their families. The Nigeria Police Force has unveiled a Special Intervention Squad (SIS) to tackle kidnapping and other criminal activities in the Federal Capital Territory. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetoku says with the inauguration of the SIS, similar initiatives will be replicated in states neighboring the FCT to effectively combat criminal incursions.
Our unwavering commitment to the safety and security of our people, sending a clear message that criminal elements will find no sanctuary within the FCT and by extension Nigeria. It is a declaration of our commitment to reclaiming our streets, neighborhoods, and cities from the clutches of lawlessness.
And away from security, full housing sector reform task teams saddled with the responsibility of actualizing the renewed hope vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on housing in Nigeria have been inaugurated. Minister of Housing and Urban Development Ahmed Musa Dangiwa at the inauguration ceremony believes the teams will work towards achieving a vibrant, functional and efficient housing industry that will not only meet the shelter needs of Nigerians but also unlock the massive potential of the sector for economic growth.
Its comprehensive housing reform ensure that they deliver optimally on their mandates to deliver decent and affordable housing to Nigerians are reviewed and upgraded. I
addressing the shortcomings of the other laws, such as establishing laws of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, Federal Housing Authority, and so on, will also bring about much needed changes in the sector.
And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Claire and Jummai after this break.
If you're just joining us here watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Now, Nigeria's oil output rises to 1.4 million barrels per day, according to OPEC monthly report. Vivian Ezeri-Faye reports on these and more on business.
The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, in its latest monthly oil market reports, states that Nigerians' daily production has risen to 1.4 million barrels per day. The report also affirms that Nigeria remains Africa's oil-producing and exporting nation, while Equatorial Guinea comes last with only 55,000 barrels per day. OPEC says Nigeria can also produce between 300,000 and 400,000 barrels per day of condensate light crude that attracts high prices like Bonny Light in the international market. In another development, the Joint Tax Board is seeking collaboration with Nigerian Customs Service to enhance effective tax management in Nigeria. This is aimed at soliciting collaboration between the two entities on crucial matters, including system integration and the finalization of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Nigerian Customs Service and the Joint Tax Board. The report further emphasizes on the importance of engaging stakeholders in achieving effective tax management, noting that no entity can handle matters in isolation. Let's look at Tuesday trading on the floor of the exchange. With business, Vivian Ezeri-Faye.
All right, welcome back. We thank Vivian Ezeri-Faye for the business news. Coming up, newspaper review. Don't go away.
And our newspaper reviewer Chukwudi is seated this morning in the studio.
How are you doing?
Good morning, Chuks.
Boy,
Good morning.
Want to have a cup of tea?
A cup of tea.
A cup of tea.
I'm not going to tell the viewers what gets done to
I'm
me
having
about
coffee.
tea. No problem. But on a happy note,
Yeah.
The Nation has a picture of Otedola and Dangote standing side by side as they say Otedola visits Dangote refinery.
That's billions visiting billions.
I want to be the third member of that pack. You know, I got my dreams, ladies.
That's billions visiting billions. Let me kickstart this review this morning with the Leadership newspaper. And above the masthead, we have an alarming story. 9,734 persons killed, 4,067 others abducted in 2023. That's a report from the police. 9,734 persons killed, 4,067 others abducted in 2023. I'm repeating that for emphasis. That's a report from the police. By elections, INEC releases final list of candidates. You find the details on page 7. And below the masthead of the Leadership newspaper, electricity subsidy rises to 1.6 trillion naira as discourse raises tariffs. Find details on page 7. So get ready with your money to pay more for electricity. Northern elders reject relocation of CBN key departments to Lagos. Details on page 7. At the side of the picture story, AFCON Super Eagles battle Cote d'Ivoire Elephants today. You find details on page 30. Illegal foreign miners behind Ibadan explosion. That's coming from the governor of Oyo State, Makinde. World Bank pushes states to access ideal $329.52 million. Find details on page 25. King Charles to undergo treatment for enlarged prostate. Details on page 16. And the headlines in the leadership newspaper: doubt trails January student loan takeoff. With kickers, student body says no portal open for applications. Urges President Tinubu to act before month end. Commencement plan still intact, FG declares. And the picture story Chikudi was talking about, Otedola visits Dangote refinery. You can see both of them standing there. Let me quickly go to the Sun newspaper. And just by the side piece of the masthead, we have Tinubu approves 5 billion grant for 185 tent fund research. Find details on page 25. Gunmen killed 2 immigration officers in Kebbi, 1 in Ebonyi. Details on page 5. IPOP calls for dismantling of illegal checkpoints in Southeast. With riders, was Igbo sons vigilantes used as toll boys. Court nullifies provision of broadcasting code empowering NBC to impose fines on broadcasters. Details on page 26. Ibadan blast. Government uncovers company housing explosives. With riders, death casualties now 3. FG raises committee to review laws on explosives. President mourns. Suspension of royal father Igwe Achebe accuses Soludo of disrespect for monarchs. Orebo reps member condemn attack on petty traders. You find all that on page 29. And tension grips Plateau as fresh attack claims 2. Details on page 6. And the bottom plate of the Daily Sun newspaper: Amechi didn't abandon Eastern Rail project. Eze replies critics. You find the details on page 28. And the headlines in the Daily Sun newspaper: 2023 presidency. Soyinka, there were plots to annul election. With rider, Brandt's LP vice presidential candidates interview disgraceful. You find the details on page 6. Claire.
Thank you.
Quite busy newspaper.
Yes.
Page this morning.
And the New Telegraph is even more with different news stories. Okay, the headline: kidnapping, crowdfunding for ransom, payment unlawful. That's by the federal government, and it gives a number of reasons as riders on the front page, and also trending just a little below the nameplate there: insecurity reps set to approve state police, and IGP launched special intervention fund. It's on pages 3 and 5. And COVID-19 stimulus: federal government reimburses states and the FCT with 210.2 billion naira. And just above the nameplate: external reserves to hit $34 billion by end of 2024. And OPEC: Nigeria most increased oil production member for December. Nigeria most increased oil production member for December. And just at the foot of the paper: Forex, CBN hires forensic firms to checkmate transaction abuses. There are also riders there that may interest you. And Nigeria travel agents lose $400 million to offshore ticket purchases, and it's on page 3. INEC clears 11 parties for February 3 by-elections. LP extends, Rivers Assembly screens, clears 9 Wiki loyalists as commissioners. And Ibadan blast: my family has been rendered homeless, says ex-deputy governor. These are some of the stories from the New Telegraph.
The Ibadan blast. The family has been rendered what?
Homeless.
Homeless. Now they are saying they are going to have to tighten the law on explosives, and the agitation, or rather the source of worry, consternation, anger actually, is that they are saying the explosives happen from the stead of illegal miners who are storing explosives. Imagine. Of course, there's a promise that those people are going to go in for it. But the harm has been done. 3 people killed. I'm even grateful to Providence that we are talking about fatalities not going beyond 3. I thought from the massive impact of that explosion that it was going to be death in
I wonder what illegal miners are doing, storing explosives in such an exclusive area where a deputy governor is living, and some governors and all that, and it's not a business area. So what were explosives doing in those areas?
Is actually a place that is notable in Ibadan.
Yes.
But talking about where the government,
a residential area.
You will be surprised where some people actually plan their criminality from in this country.
Yes.
What it needs is more surveillance, more vigilance,
yes.
Getting to know who's who. You understand? But I like that the laws on explosives will be tightened. You don't let people, you don't give people a free rein.
Chukwudi and Jume, the slogan, security is everybody's business.
Exactly.
It's not, we just pay lip service to it.
We sure do.
To think that, like you said, this man, is operating within a community environment.
Of course, yes.
He goes in and out. And he comes, and people know him. He's part of the community.
And nobody, there are security operatives there.
Patronize him. And nobody.
Claire, that's a very good
said
point.
Anything.
Yes.
You see something, say something. Nobody said anything. The community too should also have their own portion of blame in all of this, because they accommodated this man and they gave him the leverage to even.
About 3/4 of the crime that goes on in this country, we are all liable for those crimes.
Because the impact of that blast, there must have been.
Then too,
a lot of explosives.
You're talking dynamite. It's usually dynamite.
Yes. Then too, Chukwudi and Jume, too, we understand that this man has been on the wanted list. He has been on the wanted list.
There are so many people on the wanted list.
Yes, but this particular man, so security agents, don't they know? Intelligence again, and then his company is listed. It's listed with CAC.
Yes,
don't security agents know where he is?
Exactly.
All this time he's been. Well, we keep on saying that.
So these are the issues that come up when things like this happen, and it gets me worried. It gets me
raise
concerned.
your eyebrows. That's a good one. Government set to crash prices of medicines, reverse brain drain. The coordinating minister of the Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, announced this while addressing reporters, at this year's first FEC meeting. And I said that is a very good story. Just 3 days ago, a very old matron, he still works for one of the government hospitals, told me that when they were in nursing as young people, they got to the stage where they would even plait the hair of a patient.
Yes.
Rub powder, nothing, keep the person tidy. And said the current generation of nurses, pressed by time, because one person now does the job of 4 people, do not have time to even offer humanitarian services to people who are ailing. So I am happy that government is saying that they are ready to crash prices of medicines and reverse the brain drain.
The point is, crash the prices of medicine in Nigeria. Something like Augmentin is going for 30-something thousand. You and I, all of us have traveled. When we buy drugs from abroad, we know how effective it is. You take one tablet, it works.
Yes.
The one they bring to Africa, does it work that fast? Even paracetamol, you buy it abroad, you come home, you have a headache, you take within 2-3 minutes, your headache is gone.
Yes.
You take Nigerian paracetamol, then why are we talking about cost here?
Well, I wouldn't know.
When they bring substandard drugs to Africa to sell in the first place.
We have to be intelligent, informed about drugs.
Yes.
You go to buy Septrin produced by one company. Let me not mention the name.
The pharmacy will give you a different company.
Then you go to Septrin that comes in from India. The price goes down considerably, and yet it cures you.
Fast.
So people need to become price intelligent.
Yes.
Manufacturing intelligent. Brand names. Remember, Peak and other brands of milk.
Yeah.
Now, I know that I prefer the one they call them. Let's not advertise, please. So you need to be intelligent, you too, as the consumer.
I like it. You need to be intelligent. But we also need to ask questions. When you visit or consult a doctor and prescriptions are made, you also need to ask your doctor, this brand prescription, is it affordable? Are there other alternatives that I can afford?
That's it. I met a London trained pharmacist in Benin City just before my father died of a heart block. Now, the man wrote I was given a prescription and I got inside town. I returned to UBTH and said, look at the note the doctor gave me. Doctor, we do not have the drugs you prescribed for this man, but I'm suggesting this other drug which has similar indications. When I gave it to the doctor, he said, what pharmacist was that? I said, he's elderly, he was in white overalls, he said he was trained in London. It matters the pedigree.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it matters.
Yes, because when you go to purchase your drugs, the chemist or whoever is there would always, or most often time, want to sell, the brands that are more expensive. So they will tell you that. So you have to also ask, Aga,
that's it.
This one, any other one that can
for the poor man
that can,
so that I can afford.
The doctor I'm talking about. After reading it, said, I have a lot of respect for him. Now go back and tell him to give you the one he's suggesting. And tell him good afternoon on my behalf.
Yes.
Where do we have the caliber of people in that category anymore?
No.
That's not right.
Well,
a traditional ruler is annoyed in the southeast. Obi Igwe Achebe of Onitsha is telling Governor Soludo that he should not, tar every traditional ruler there with the same brush, because he said the governor is accusing traditional rulers of selling titles, chieftaincies and all that. He said we couldn't all
I wish we had time. We had a number of stories we would have loved to talk about. At least we have some positive developments in the oil and gas sector for us. OPEC is saying Nigeria is most increased oil production member for December. That's good. It shows positive signs for us. And then the external reserve, growing.
We'll go to $24 billion
these are some talking points we would have loved to.
Very important. Then the one on kidnapping, the actions being taken by the FCT minister, the police, and we have to encourage them.
Yes, I think we just encourage them. And I'm one person that I don't believe that security measures or whatever government is doing to tackle insecurity should be out in the public.
Yes.
I don't.
But there's something they said just before we go. Crowdfunding of ransom money is discouraged. Because by the time you readily begin to call on community members, please bring money or make a... They begin to think
the kidnappers
that's
to
the point they're
making. Okay, on that note,
it's not that they're being heartless.
Policy-wise,
yes,
it's not it's not encouraged. But you also know the pressure.
Yeah. You got to go.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, ladies.
Tomorrow will be Friday.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm going to say TGIF tomorrow, really, because I need to rest.
All right. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Don't go away. The program will return shortly.
This is Good Morning Nigeria. And before we go to our topic of the day, let's take this background report from Ibrahim and Hamidu.
For 2 decades, Nigeria has been grappling with the harrowing challenges of insecurity, kidnapping, and banditry, with a profound impact on the safety and security of schools across the nation, since the infamous and daredevilish Chibok schoolgirls kidnapping by Boko Haram terrorists on a dreadful night in April 2014. 276 schoolgirls were whisked away into captivity. In January 2024, more cases of kidnapped students have been reported in the country, including residents of Nigeria's capital, Abuja. These threats have instilled fear and anxiety among students, parents, and educators, disrupting the fundamental right to education and a safe learning environment. The escalating nature of these issues has shed light on the urgency to address and mitigate the far-reaching consequences of insecurity on educational institutions. The federal government has taken steps to address the situation, recognizing the imperative to safeguard schools and protect the well-being of children. Through the Safe School Initiative, the measures are put in place to fortify schools and institute security protocols to mitigate the risks posed by insecurity. This initiative stemmed from the dire need to counter the growing threats facing educational institutions and ensure the safety of students and teachers. The Safe School Initiative seeks to bolster the physical, psychological, and educational resilience of schools against insecurity. It advocates for the implementation of comprehensive security measures, emphasizing the importance of community engagement and the involvement of relevant stakeholders in safeguarding schools. In response to the alarming surge in insecurity, the federal government has intensified efforts to address the underlying causes and combat the pervasive threats facing schools. This includes strategic collaborations with security agencies, provision of resources for school security, and advocacy for a safer educational environment. On Good Morning Nigeria, guests will delve into the multifaceted impact of insecurity, kidnapping, and banditry on schools in Nigeria, exploring the ways in which these challenges have disrupted the educational landscape and endangered the lives of students and educators. Light will also be shed on the evolution of the Safe School Initiative, narrating its genesis and the concerted efforts to foster a secure and conducive learning environment for the nation's youth.
Ibrahim Hamidou, thank you for that report. And that set the ball rolling for our conversation. Our guests are already seated here, and we have two of them here in the studio. Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu, retired, is a security and defense consultant and also an expert in Safe School Declaration. And would like to welcome him to Good Morning Nigeria, and of course, compliment of the season to you.
Good morning, madam, and happy new year, since I'm seeing for the first time.
Also here with us is Dr. Yahuza Getso. He is a security intelligence and investigation expert, equally the CEO and director for Criminality Intelligence Center for Security Intelligence Research and Community-Driven Development, and is based here in Abuja. We're glad to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Also joining us via Zoom is Dr. from Asaba, is Dr. Hamid Aboduri, Commander, National Safe School Response Coordination Center, NSCDC headquarters here in Abuja. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, let's start with the expert, of course, in Safe School Declaration, Group Captain Sadiq Garba, and that's because the Safe School Declaration initiatives is not just a Nigerian thing. It's an international initiative that is targeted at sustaining education, for our children, to ensure that despite the circumstances, children continue to get education protected and safe. And it actually started with us in 2014 during President Goodluck Jonathan, and then President Buhari ratified it in 2019. We even went as far as developing a financing plan for it. What's your assessment so far, given the scenario? How do you evaluate, progression?
Thank you very much. First, I like the way you placed, the issue of sustaining education. The main idea behind protecting schools is the understanding that the youths or the children are the future of humanity. And for them to be, responsible and useful citizens all over the world, they need to be educated. So the idea behind protecting school is that education is so important that no matter what conflict is going all efforts must be made to ensure that education is not stopped. So for Nigeria, while safe schools, is a global issue, if we look currently, even in the Israeli-Hamas fight, there are issues of attacking school. When you go to the Russia, you will hear of attacking schools. So over the years, unfortunately, human beings have become so insensitive that during conflicts between them, no place is sacred. Whereas, if we go by historically, even in the scriptures, schools are areas that are protected even by the two major Abrahamic religions. They have this thing that schools should be protected. But what we see in modern conflicts is that schools are not spared. When you juxtapose that about the need of continuing education, this is where the idea of, it's an old idea, but it only became because now modern conflicts do not spare schools. In Nigeria, attention of the world was focused after the Dapchi and Chibok kidnappings, which raised a lot of international attention. So we started, there has been a change of nomenclature. We started with the Safe School Initiative, SSI, which at that time was championed by the former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, with a global coalition of some business people who are interested in protecting education. So we started that in May 2014. This, they put some some measures on the ground, like relocating schools, like putting physical security around some schools in the northeast. But that program ended in December 2017. Now, with that 2017, unfortunately, we saw again continued attack on schools. I don't have to go through down the litany of, we had others that even had more figures or more numbers than the Dapchi and Chibok. So Nigeria joined this Safe School Declaration, which was initially spearheaded by the government of Norway and Argentina. Nigeria was among the first 35 countries that joined the call for the setting of Safe School Declaration. The Safe School Declaration, is a global coalition to bring standards that will ensure that schools and educational facilities, as well as the learners, teachers, workers, anybody or any person that has to do with education, are protected as a result of the continued assault we see on this things. Nigeria, signed the ratification document in December 2019 during the Buhari administration. That is to say, Nigeria will abide by all the declarations. There are guidelines, there are things that state governments are supposed to do, so Nigeria signed. Now since then, the journey has been back and forth. Sometimes you see emphasis on it, sometimes again we see a layback on it. However, there has been some matches, like for example, again the government came out with a 3-year program beginning 2020 up to 2026. There's a 3-year.
Yes, 2023
to 2026. Yes,
2023 to 2026.
Yes, there's a 3-year program which should be sustained. The problem we have, like most everything in our national life, is sustainability. Sometimes as a result of political, transition, sometimes as a result of the too much movement we have in ministries and departments that have to do with this safe school, where you have personnel going without proper handing over. So I have been opportune to work with several state and non-state actors that are interested in SSD. What you find, sometimes you find a lot of buy-in, but then after a while you get a back-in. Right now this SSD plan is there with the promise that it will be financed through these 3 years that I mentioned. But where it is now, I cannot exactly tell you, because when I saw the budget for this 2014, I cannot remember 2024. I cannot remember seeing any financial, allocation. And without finances, definitely there's no way you can.
Yes, but in talking about. Sorry, Jimmy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. In terms of, I'm just asking evaluation, even in terms of, physical, not just budgeting. Yes, in terms of implementation of the provisions of the initiative itself.
Exactly.
From what is going on around the schools, has anything tangible, been done? Because most schools from the north to the east to the west are still very vulnerable.
Exactly. Implementation is always a challenge. There are some things have been doing, like for example, there is a minimum standard for safe schools that have been developed. There's a training manual, which I took part in that development, for the security forces to understand what kind of security is required for schools. Because again, here I have to lay the emphasis. When we say security for schools, sometimes it is not only about guns and bullets. There are other physical security. There are procedural security. There's even involving, you started by saying a comprehensive, involving the communities where the schools are hosted. They have a lot of role to play. Now we have these guidance documents. We have the police, the military, the civil defense, all involved with different capacities. But again, at the same time, I said, apart from the physical, or I can say the kinetic approach of guns and bullets, sometimes, in fact, educational psychologists will tell you have to think a little while when you're thinking of guns and bullets into schools where small children are impressionable. So these are issues, you know, that it is a comprehensive package. There are the aspects that have to do with the hardware. But then there are issues of, you know, even how you construct our schools. If you look at most of the kidnaps we have, like, for example, the one we had in Gusau, you know, we have this perception that putting a perimeter fence is like a waste of money. Most of the new universities, when you find all the government is interested is setting up the buildings. They don't care where the students are going to stay. Most of this, we have students staying out of the confines of a school. Now, you see, so you see the security starts right from how you even design your building. If you are building a university and you are not thinking, are the students going to stay inside the school or outside the school, it doesn't matter, let's just have our laboratories and classes, then you have a problem there. Because you have to be thinking, of course, okay, sometimes we can say you cannot accommodate students 100%. But where students are going to be, because when you have the learning facilities and the living facilities without an enclosure, it makes it easy for you to provide this. And again, you don't build a school and then leave it without a fence. Yes, a fence cannot stop a determined attacker, but what a fence does, you know, it discourages the attacker. It's also to give a warning, because, for example, a school that is fenced, if you see anybody cutting the fence, already you have an early warning, because, you know, but then when you leave the school, you know, open, he can come from the north, from the east, from the west and enter. That means you don't have, wherever I see somebody entering the school is gate, so there's no alarm. But when you have a fence and see somebody breaching the fence, even if it is one student, that could be the start of raising alarm, which could stop that attack. So these are issues, you know, that have to be done. In the school, there are things that federal government will do. There are things that state governments will do. There are things that even proprietors, because we have private schools, will do.
I like the angle you are going.
Yes.
I'm sure Jube wants to.
I think he has really, you know, opened the floor for the conversation.
Thank you.
You know, you've really talked about the importance of education. And you know, when the Safe School Initiative was initiated, I was in Maiduguri when they started going around, and we knew that it was to, you know, bring students from troubled areas to safe schools. Unfortunately, these safe schools are now unsafe for students, exactly, because apart from the Chibok girls, we had a lot of kidnappings and killings. You remember the Buniadi murder of killings of students in the school in the night. And you know, in other climes, there's this way they do it. It's a drill. They teach the children how to be safe during situations like this. And you know, it's not a drill. We watch it in movies. They say, okay, this is not a drill, this is a real situation. And you know, security experts are saying that 10 years on, why are we still discussing Safe School Initiative? It's something that should be off the ground, but it's as if it's trying to, you know, move, but it's not moving. It's still flat on the ground. It's still flat on its face. Why are we still discussing Safe School Initiative 10 years on? Let's bring in Dr. Yehoza.
Well, there are several reasons why we are still talking about Safe Schools Initiative, and yet thousands and hundreds of dollars and in trillions have been spent, and a lot of time and human and whatever resources have been spent, and yet you cannot see anything for so many reasons. One, we normally give responsibility without making follow-up to about who is really we have assigned the responsibility and what was the result out of it. Two, we have the policy, and I want to tell you that more than 90% of the schools that we have in the country don't even understand what are the basis for SBMC. That is School-Based Management Committee, which has a kind of kind of partnership between the schools and the communities. And then three,
is it still functioning even?
Yes, of course, we have it on paper. The policy is still there, and the committees are still there. But yet, do they really understand the scope and description of what they are expected to do? Do the teachers really have the organized psychology to even understand that there is a need to bring the community to have a discussion about the issues around? Do we really have any calendar that we normally sensitize even the students, even during the weekly assembly or any other assembly that we interact with the students? Are there anybody who is responsible? Most of the schools, let me tell you, so in many parts of the areas where you have these challenges, more than 19, 20 years, you don't even have a guard. And even if you have a guard, most of them are old enough. They cannot even open the gate. Talk less of raising alarm, talk less of threatening or serving as a deter to any criminal who is coming to attack the school. And most of the universities, even day before yesterday, there was abduction of students in Katsina. That was, they left the school at the student of Al-Qalam, like rightly a friend is talking about. They left the school going to their hostel because they don't have hostel inside the schools. They have hostel somewhere else. They have their accommodation somewhere else outside. Five of them have been kidnapped. And yet we are still talking about children that have been kidnapped in Benin, Yauri and many other parts of the country. And we have not been given any attention. So what confidence and what trust? We don't really mobilize trust and confidence to the community members so that they will even understand. That is, and three, all the agencies that we have, the security agencies, are understaffed. Most of them, the total number of security personnel that we have in the country are not up to 28% of the total requirement that we have to face even the ordinary security challenges that we have on the streets, talk less of the physical security and other challenges of kidnapping, banditry, and especially focusing on the schools. And at the same time, if you look at most of the secondary schools that we have, the management are struggling to kind of teachers are being responsible for doing the services of other staff. So what do you expect? Is the teacher going to focus on the academic, or going to focus on his own security, or going to focus on the security of the student, or going to focus on the attention on the biapencies that we have, and many other things? So, and then virtually most of the security issues that we have are not really community driven. Is kind of somebody will just come from the air. Somebody is seated somewhere in Kano, somewhere in Abuja, will just sit down and make a decision without making it a kind of a community driven. Until and unless, if we really want to make our schools safe, we need to make the policy to be community driven, community initiated and community sustained, and to have full engagement of the community, because they are the ones who are on ground and they know the basis, and they know the environment, and they know the terrain, so they can be able to guide on the sites and locations, and then as well as the other forest parts which is needed to be covered and to be taken care of. Even if you look at Abuja, where we are here, which is the seat of the government, which is the capital of the country, check around, go to schools. Let's take, for example, Federal Government College Kwali. Let's take Federal Government College Garki here. Let's take Federal Government College Rubochi. Let's take Federal Government College Buhari. And let's take all other secondary schools that are non-federal, as well as the private schools that we have, even in the FCT here. Go and see the type of guards that we have. Go and see the type of security engagement that we have. When parents are dropping their children and they are just living without any kind of, it's very easy that you can kidnap and you can take as many children as possible. There are schools that I know in Nigeria that you can drive in, do whatever you can for 1, 2, 3 hours without you being asked, what are you here for? I visited a school in northern Nigeria when I was making a random sampling on the performance, independently assessing the performance of this sub-school initiative. There are schools I visited in Damaturu. There is a school I visited in Adamawa. I visited a school in Sokoto. I visited a school in Kogi. I visited a school in Niger. I used my car, which is fully tinted. I intentionally used that car to move around, fully tinted, including the front. You cannot see anybody. I move around. I entered the school without anybody asking me, who are you, what are you here for?
Apparently the gates were just flung open for you to drive in.
Yes, and when I get there, I removed my chair. I sat down outside. I interacted with students. I asked them about their teachers. They said these are the quarters of the teachers. Oh my and I move around.
And nobody asked you what you were doing there.
I want to tell you that all of these schools that I mentioned in all the states I sampled 21 states, and I went there intentionally. And all the schools that I have been, some I stop around the gate with my tinted car. Nobody asked me, nobody check who are you, what are you here for. Some of the schools, I even go inside those schools. Some of the schools I even interacted. I left my car inside the school, within the admin or within the peripheral of the hostels of the students.
No teacher came to you?
No teacher came to me. Some I even go around the quarters and I start random sampling. I knock on the door of a teacher. One day I was asking, okay, please, today is a working day. It was Friday. I asked, I saw the student move around. Please, is anybody among the management around? He said, no, I'm just a teacher. Maybe check as the admin. If there is nobody, then it means they have closed. And that was around 11:30 a.m. and not really even 12. So the students left the school, the classes. Nobody cares. So there are a lot of all these jam-packed issues. And then at the same time, you know, we have our traditional leaders who are supposed to be at the front line of managing all issues related at the community base. How have we been faring in engaging them? How have we even understand? How have we been able to profile who are they, how are they, what are they, what were they? Because you need to, you know, when you are trying to have a policy implemented, you need to look at the psychology of the leader around. You need to look at the psychology of the philanthropists around. You need to look at the psychology of other social and influential as well as the pressure groups and so on and so forth. So that you can have an absolute combination of who to trust. Because the government cannot be there always. When you talk about the security personnel, how many are they? Where are they? Have they been able to even protect their own offices? Have they been able to even protect their own senior office and so on and so forth? So how do you expect? So the level of community interaction, the level of community engagement, and the level at which the policy implementation is proceeding, the level at which we are working towards even sensitizing the community to understand that we have something. Maybe, probably some of you, the elites, are the only people who are aware, who know about anything about the sub-school initiative. Otherwise, an ordinary person, in most cases, an elite at the local government level will tell you what is sub-school initiative. Go and conduct the survey, go and sample the opinion of the public. Go to the market, go to the Meshai tea table, go to the football watching centers. And alike. Go and sample the opinion of the people and know how many people even understand and know about anything, any policy to do with sub-school initiative. And then our intelligence and surveillance.
Yes.
How far are we so far in respect to generating intelligence to even understand the scope? Is it only to have the beautiful document printed at the national level and to have the policy launch where you have Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C as a front line of whatever?
Yes, that's a good point that you have raised this, you know, and thank you for all the, you know, efforts that you have made. Indeed, there was a time in F Government College, you know, Abuja here, you know, when the gates, you know, you could, but not so anymore. I can assure you, you know, the gates of the Federal Government College
that is the Federal Government
Abuja here. Yes, I'm just telling you because you mentioned it. Indeed, right now, you know, before you go in, you know, questions are asked, you know, because I also, you know, was concerned about the issues that we read. But let's bring in Dr. Hamid Abodunrin, who is joining us via Zoom from Asaba. He's the Commander, National Safe School Response Coordination Center, NSCDC. Dr. Abodunrin, we're glad that you could join us. I'm sure you've been listening to the two guests here in the studio. The NSCDC is, you know, lead agency implementing the Safe School initiatives of Safe School Declaration. And I'm just wondering, how much of our schools, you know, have you been able to cover in terms of protection? Or again, is this just one of those initiatives just to appease or appeal to the population?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Actually, what people, the speakers have been saying, they are very, very true of our situation. But let me quickly start by saying that probably this situation is as a result of, who we were. We were so secured that we didn't know that this kind of situation will come. And when you see some of our attitude to what is happening now, it is because we were, for a very long time, we didn't have all these challenges that we are having now. In fact, I always say it that even if you look at the way we greet ourselves, if I'm leaving your house in the evening, I'm going to tell you that till tomorrow, like Yoruba will tell you Daro, Kachifo, Shegobe. All these things indicate that we are so sure that tomorrow will come. Now, elsewhere, they will only wish you a good night because they know anything can happen between the morning and the night. So we were so secure that even when we are leaving a gathering, instead of excusing ourselves from that gathering, we are going to tell others that we are coming when we are actually going. So the culture is already there. The culture of not caring, not thinking about our security is also there. And when we have all this problem of not checking, not doing anything, it is because we were secure. But it is high time we started thinking that the situation is no longer the same thing. The issue of confidence has also been raised. We have been sloganeering. If you see something, say something. Yes, beautiful slogan. But then you can only say something when you know what you have seen. For instance, the speaker before me just said that he went to school in his tinted glass vehicle. They saw it. They didn't say anything because they did not know what they had seen. So at times too, because of that lack of confidence among the security operatives and members of the community, they are also even reluctant to even say something now. In fact, some are saying now that if you say something, you will see something. These are issues, and it didn't just start. There are issues that have been part of our culture in our own part of the world. You will see somebody, a little boy, innocently crying for biscuit. You will see the mother telling him or her, see police. You grow up thinking that anybody in uniform is a terror. You don't want to go.
Dr. Potere, I'm sorry to interject. I was actually asking you to give us an insight into how safe our schools are today, how much of our schools across the country, since the NSCDC, started implementing the Safe Schools initiatives, how much of the schools have you been able to cover, and what kind of protection have you provided? Captain Sadiq here talked about the physical protection. Dr. Getso also talked about, the porosity, of some of our schools. So I'm asking, how much has the NSCDC done to provide protection and safety for our school children?
I understand. I only try to lay that premise so that we know what we are really facing. Now, what we first did was to carry out what we call the vulnerability survey of all schools. And of the 821,000 schools covered by that survey, about 20,000 of them, had fences. The statistics is actually scary. Now, talking about covering them for safety, our intention is we are not picking them one after the other. What we have just started is sensitization and making publications as the tips that you can use, as not only as students but as community members to ensure that there is safety. Now, our next category, our next stage of effort will be to actually engage school teachers so that they can actually go and domesticate these safety skills among the students. It is because it is when everybody is on board that we can actually address this issue. The unconsciousness of our people, of everybody concerning safety and security is what we are tackling. So we are not picking the school one after the other, that to say that this is the number that we have covered or not. But the vulnerability survey has told us much about what we have at hand and how to address them.
Thank you so much for your opening comment there. Claire is, you're on board on the school safe school initiative, and Claire and I were expecting that you should have given us a data or statistics of the schools that you've covered so far. Let's quickly come back to the studio where Group Captain Sadiq Garba is still sitting. Group Captain Sadiq, when we're discussing the Armed Forces Remembrance Day here with veterans and all that, still talking about security, here with my co-presenter and I asked this question: why are we not making use of these veterans? Some of them retired because of years of service. They are still young, they are still active. Why is the Safe School Initiative not bringing them on board, to secure the schools and, use them and get them employed so that they can earn a living? And the other aspect is, where's the private partner, PPP, public-private partnership, that was initiated at the initial stage of the Safe School Initiative in 2014, when other countries came in and then the government brought in some money? I think it was 10 million then on both sides. What is the private sector doing, to assist this Safe School Initiative? Because it's everybody's business. All our children are in school. Should it be left to government alone?
Thank you very much. The safety of schools is, to use the famous cliche, is everybody's business.
Yeah.
There's a part government can play, even the government at the different strata, federal, state, local government. There are parts that even school owners, there are parts even parent-teachers association play, because we are all parents here now. When you drop your child, do you ask for the school? What arrangement do you have if there is a kidnap attempt? People should ask. You talked about in other countries where people are even told about drills.
Yes, okay.
So, at the beginning I said there is tendency to think that when we say safe schools, we're only talking of policemen or soldiers with guns. It's part of it, but that is not the only part. In fact, there are other preventive, early warning, community-related issues that should be there. With regards to using veterans, whether military, whether police, anybody who has received military or security training, as long as he is fit and still having years, is an additional, material when you're talking about security. Dr. Gezo spoke about when you go to the school, you just see one old baba.
Yes.
Just looking him to that is not security. You don't train him. Before he even identify who you are, he has already lifted gate and told you to pass. I mean, so you need quality security, and we need to invest in that. But like I said, I find that in fact, in all our general life, we think investing in security is a waste of time, or it is something that can be. If I arrive from our attack on railway, what came out from that railway? You see that we did a railway without thinking of what is the security there. It is after you finish now, people have been pardoned, and it costs you more money. Because if you want to integrate security now, for example, in our railway system, honestly, you spend more money than you would have done if you had put it initially, because you have to break some things, you have to scatter some things before you put it now. It's the same thing with the schools. Right from instituting a school, whether it's a university, things like all-inclusive environment where everybody is there should be there. Things like gate, things like most of our schools are open.
Yeah, open.
We find that foreign. With due respect, Armed Forces Command and Staff College, with due respect, my military men would not like to say, was open. There was no fence until Boko Haram entered. It is an idea part was, if it is not a house, any other public building can just be left. If you go to any primary school or any secondary school in the local, that is where, if there is any clash, or that's where everybody will enter. You see it without window, you see it without door, because we just believe that what is necessary is just to have the building. Structure. So whether state universities, whether state secondary schools, whether federal universities, we should start thinking right from the inception stage. How are we going to build insecurity? Should not be as an afterthought or until, no, it should be part of the design right from the beginning. And we must learn, and even us as parents, we should ask, look, if bandits enter here, have our children been trained on what did you do? Do you have any security plan? So all these issues, like they are procedural things. Do our schools have security plans? Do they have trained security people? Is there one teacher or one tutor that is in charge of security, that is security focal point? You get the point? If, despite everything, students have to stay out of the campus, there should be what we call a warding system. There are students living in Sabongari. They should form a group. Among them, there's somebody who is security focal point with phone numbers, that if there's any information, can be there. Talking about, when we talk about early warning involving the community, a simple thing like having a metal gong hung under one tree for the community. If you see anybody, please knock it so that everybody will know what it is. They come on bikes. So that one, why it will not stop? It makes people not completely helpless. People are trained on what to do. We don't take these things serious. So to be honest, like I said, what we see is that sometimes when we're having launches, that they are going to launch this, they are going to launch that, but after that, everything is quiet. Everything is quiet. The last kidnap in FG Federal University Gusau, what I learned, apart from the fact that the students were off campus, I mean, there was a checkpoint just a few meters away, but again, it comes back to numbers. If the people are 2 or 3 and there is no communication between the students that are inside and that checkpoint, of course nothing will happen.
You know, Group Captain Sadiq, thank you. Actually, I was going to get you to give content to fiscal, protection. You know, you distinguish between, again, the fiscal and
procedural.
Yes, procedural. So it would appear from, Dr. Abodun's response that the NSCDC is still on the issue, on the face of sensitizing. That's no coordinated and integrated structure at the moment to implement the provisions of the Safe School Declaration. But let us look at, now that schools are back, not just the primary and secondary tiers of education, but also the tertiary education. There are schools in Lafayette, for instance, the students of that university, at this time, some of them have gone home. Some have told their parents they don't want to go back to the institution. But these are also institutions with perimeter fencing, with what will come within the physical, protection measures that you have spoken. So what kind of safety measures can be employed for students like those in Lafayette to protect those students in the university?
Yes, I have been following some of the unsavory things that happen in that. With due respect, I'm not only singling that out. It's just symptomatic of what happens. That Lafayette, if you go, there are many students that live off campus. As far as the school authorities are concerned, they only take those people in charge when they enter the school campus. Most of the things that happen is outside the campus. So it resists what I'm saying. Why are you building a school without thinking hostel of hostel? It's just not enough. What I know happens in other countries, even though the school may not be able to provide accommodation for somebody, even the houses that students are allowed to go and secure, there's a security man that will go and assess them. And they will tell all the people in the community, if you are building accommodation for students to rest, it must meet such and such criteria. You get the point? You must have such and such criteria before we allow, and students are guided on where to hire accommodation, because even in a whole town, some areas could be more vulnerable than others. Some areas are criminal, they are not criminal infested. So these are just we don't do. So with due respect, fence is only one aspect. If you go, you go and find the level, the quality of security officers they have. Is there any one person that if a student has a problem, he will say, I'll call this person, this is the security focal point? Is that person himself connected to the DPO? Is he connected to the civil defense local commander? Is he connected to the local military commander? All these are issues. These are what I mean by procedural. And have the people been sensitized? If you hear, like for example, somebody who does not have security training, when they start firing, he will start running.
Yes.
But a simple drill will tell you that, look, you cannot run faster than a bullet. So if there is any shooting where, the best thing for you to do is to go down, so that you reduce your area of exposure. Yes. If there is any hard desk or any hard table or any distance, if that is the best you can find, hide behind it. This kind of thing. Or this is the area that after, one thing that normally happens, if you check again, even after the attacks, sometimes it takes us up to 7 days to even confirm how many students were taken or not taken. Yeah. Again, that's a procedural thing. There should be a verification drill after the incident. Okay, they have taken one, but first of all, your first is to know how many were taken. You can only do that if you have a full register. You have in our buildings now, you will see assembly area, but most people don't even know where the assembly area is. It's in case of incident. Yes. It's a bit far away from this is what I've fallen debris or this one, but then you assemble there. It's supposed to be when you say an assembly area, if it is a 7-story building, in every story there is somebody who is the security focal point or the warden who knows that You are on my floor, she's on my floor. Has she come to work today? I have 7 people. Are 7 people accounted for? First floor, second floor, are 8 people accounted for? 9th floor, 8. Then, so now, you even know. I remember the one in Kankara. So many distance from the principal to the commissioner. Nobody knew how many students were actually taking. So even while we are searching, we really don't even know how many we are searching for. Some people can be missing. Even one person is important because you don't have a number. Now, if, for example, when we recover 5, 10, then the story will die down. Up to now, like the doctor said, you know, Chibok, we still have children that have not been recovered.
Yes.
Even the Gusau, the most recent one, still we don't, because in the first place we did not know actually the number of people that were taking.
Please, before Jume brings in the other guys, for emphasis, and for those watching, can you just briefly recap, the suggestion that you have made for those managing our tertiary institutions, so as to provide safety for students who also seek accommodations outside the main campuses?
Well, like I said, when you are planning a school, it is logical. When you have all the students in one confined environment, it makes it easier for you to provide security and know what is happening, rather than having people scattered. But even where you cannot do that, maybe due to the number we admit, we have so many students, ensure that where they are staying, you don't just leave them, that your concern is only when they come for lectures. No, off lectures. How many are they in Tudunwada? Who is the head of you make him the security focal point, or the warden, so many names you can call him. You have all the name of the people. There's what we call a security, you do a communication tree. It's a kind of like a WhatsApp group, kind of, so that once that person receives an information, we have an attack. With one click, he will tell all the people under him, maybe 7, maybe 8, that there's something happening, this is what we are going to do. That is one issue. Secondly, we have the issue of physical, demarcating school property is very important. It is not a waste of money, because in itself, it gives you an indication where somebody is going to temporarily enter, so that you have recognized entrances and exits. A school should not be that anybody can enter from anywhere and go out from anywhere. You should have that. And when you talk about security personnel, they should be sensitized. In most kidnapping cases, most kidnappings, not all, most kidnappings will be preceded by a kind of surveillance. The person cannot just come in without, first of all, verifying what am I going to meet, what kind of Reiki. Yes. Security personnel who is well trained will understand when somebody is taking an unhealthy interest by the gate or passing or coming. That should be even the start of maybe even stopping the attack before it comes. In communities where you are going, you also have to involve them, the host communities. First, school is even good for any host community. Every community would like to have school, because that means their children cannot go far. Sensitize them on that. Having the school here is even a good thing for you. So helping to secure the school is also in your own interest, because like you said, when they say SSI, again, that's another problem. We are relocating some of the schools. In some areas, for political reasons, relocating a school is going to pose a great challenge. Because people can say, the school that we are sending our children now, you want to carry it. And so they need to know that they have an interest. Why? He talked about the people there, they know the terrain, they know the people. If there's a new stranger or somebody who's of criminal descent showing something, maybe that is when you start getting your early information and even stopping the attack before it comes.
Like Dr. Abodiri said, if you say something, you see something. That's why some people are afraid. Let's bring in Dr. Yahuza Gates owner. A lot of experts, security experts, are also saying that apart from the security plan itself, there should be a developmental plan for this Safe School initiative, especially now that we're talking of 2023 to 2026, a developmental plan so that data can be used to ascertain the level of insecurity in school, how much has been tackled, and so on. And in conversations like this, we usually, the role of the NOA always comes into play, National Orientation Agencies, and we at times we wonder how much they are educating and enlightening people on issues like this, because they should be involved in a safe school initiative like this, so that they can be able to talk to people and educate, enlighten, and inform the public on the scheme itself.
Well, thank you for this question. My concern here is how many NOA, that is National Orientation Agency staff, have the database of the total number of the schools in each of the local governments where they are working. I know there is no local government among the 773 local governments that we have in Nigeria that doesn't have a national orientation agency staff or coordination unit. But how many of them, I'm asking and I'm challenging the National Orientation Agency at the national level to answer this question at any opportunity medium they may have, to respond to Dr. Gezo's question that how many do you have the data of the number of schools around you? How many of those National Orientation Agency have ever visited 3 out of maybe 100 schools that are available? And how many have they interacted with the community to understand the level of ownership, to understand the level of believing that the school is ours, as mentioned by group captain? Because it is only when the community have the ownership, it is only when the community have the trust and confidence on government facility belongs to them, not really belongs to the government, that government decides, either local government, either state government, either federal government. If I am the host community, I should form part of the ownership. I should form part of those who are responsible for squaring that environment. So, how many also enlightenment campaign have ever been conducted, probably during one of community engagement, either political, either celebrities, either using the football, watching centers, TV and so on, to say that your schools probably to have some leaflets or some probably outline guidelines, safety guides that can be posted, so that everybody, when you see it at the probably any public places, like I always cite example with the markets, supermarkets, football watching centers, tea drinking centers and like, because these are opportunities where you can outline the school is owned by you, the school belongs to the community, the school is ours, there is need to provide support for surveillance on our schools, there is need to assist this school management in managing the security, this school is within our domain. So how many? I doubt, I'm very doubtful if National Orientation Agency is having this outline guidelines even at its own headquarters. Not even to talk of the state, not even to talk of the local government, not even to talk of at the schools. So unless and until you have this, and let's also ask, either they have in their work plan, do they even have the work plan? Do they even in their work plan, do they target those schools? And if they target them, how many have they been able to implement? How many have they been able to visit, even an ordinary visit to the management, to discuss with the management of the school, what are you doing about the safety of the school and how are you sensitizing the public? I want to tell you that I attended one of the PTA session where the old student of that schools had their activity on the same day, and I happens to be one of the PTA, among the PTA leaders. I am the secretary of the PTA. It's a federal government institution, and on getting there, immediately I came to the gate. The gate was open. So when a National Orientation Agency personnel of that local government was given a phone to speak, do you know what he said? He said, how many of you that park your car correctly? He was asking of parking car. He was not using the opportunity. You know, those are part of the medium that could have been used in sensitizing and sending the right information. Those could have been the opportunity for the National Orientation Agency to have outlined safety measures to be shared with the parents, and that could send the message not only to the parent there, but the parent can take it and also reprint it, be encouraged to reprint it or make a photocopy to share it here with some other places. Okay, so the question is the ownership. Yes. The question is understanding the scope. The question is all about, do really the NOA staff at the local government even understand or have been carried out on this issue of driving the process of safe school initiative. Okay, we have to take a break now. We'll come back to all our guests so that, you know, as the program begins to round off.
All right, welcome back to the program. It's Good Morning Nigeria. Quickly, I'd like to bring in Dr. Abodore into our conversation again. Dr. Abodore, I recall that when this initiative, was ratified by the immediate past administration, and there was a meeting, a kind of collaborative meeting in which the NSCDC was part of. The NSCDC had plans, and part of those plans, I just want you to enlighten us what has happened. There was the school's community security vanguard. You also had the female squad, set up. That's on the physical protection measures. Then you also had the IES. That's the integrated electronic arrest and what do you call arrest reporting system. So what has happened to all of these measures that the NSCDC came up with? Is this still being implemented, or is it a forgotten story?
Well, thank you very much. All of these have been implemented. The issue is that since this problem didn't just start one day, gradually we are addressing it. Now, the National Safe School Response Coordination Center is a center that hosts other agencies as well. It is not just civil defense; other agencies are participating. Now, the issue of female squad was established by the Commandant General to actually address safety in schools. If there is any notice or any, if we are alerted on any issue, they go there to see what is happening there. And besides that, once in a while, they also do community engagement, talking to the people about the safety of the community and the school as well. Now, we are at a stage now that the center has hosted a website where schools are expected to register. So if all schools in Nigeria already surveyed are registered, and those ones that will still be coming up, when they are registered, we know where they had the addresses and all that. So if there is anything, we'll be able to locate the exact place. Now, the civil defense and other agencies, they are in virtually in all local government areas in Nigeria. So when there is an alert or there is any intelligence report from anywhere that is calling our attention to that, we can really assess the nearest location, the nearest agency's location close to that school, so that they can hold, they can respond if there is need for us to respond. But the plans, really, like I said earlier, now is that research has shown that the best form of security is the one you provide for yourself. Everybody should be on the same page. We should know basic things that we'll be talking about, basic things that we should, the precautions that we should be making. Now, if anything happens elsewhere, before you know it, operatives there will get to the root of the matter, not only because of technology, but because people are actually conscious and they can give information, they can give descriptions. So we are at that stage now. We are asking every school to register on that website, and it costs nothing. Just go there to the website and register your school, give the address, and if anything happens, we'll be able to actually locate where it is and who to contact. The center also takes report from the communities and give it to the relevant agency that should act on it. In the center, we have people from the military, from DIA, from DSS, from the police, and the rest, including the Ministry of Education, a National Orientation Agency, so that if there is anything to be given out, each agency that is represented at the center will be given, and they will also get across to the appropriate authority. This is the stage we are, and we are also hoping that the plan to actually engage the teachers who will eventually domesticate the skills with the children will be there. We have so designed it in such a way that it will not really tamper with the curriculum of the schools already. It is just going to be a kind of 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes talk to pupils before they enter their classes.
Dr. Abodore, thank you. The issue is not what you're going to do or what you intend to do. The issue is, what are you doing? Now schools have resumed. and parents are expecting that their children will go to school and return home, learn in a safe and secured environment. And as part of it, the mandate of the NSCDC is to ensure that the schools are safe. So I don't think, or we don't think that you will have to wait until something happens and then you are told before you now spring to action. By now, we expect that you will tell us, okay, we have put so in place. This is what we have done. This is what we have done. When schools within Abuja, for instance, you know what is happening in Abuja? Just begin with Abuja. What are your plans in Abuja to secure our schools?
That already we have all these plans and they are being implemented. For instance, the safe school. They move around the patrol schools. There's no way you can distribute security agencies in all schools in Nigeria. I just told you that we survey about around 21,000. That is huge. So what we are doing is that it is not what security agencies alone can do. We are talking about giving information. And when you give information, there are locations of civil defense location and even other agencies location in virtually every part of Nigeria. So what we are saying is that as you are doing your patrol, as you are also surveying schools, they have resumed now. As you are patrolling schools and all that, you won't be everywhere at the same time. That is why there is the need for community participation. That is what I am trying to emphasize in. That there is need. It's not as if we are waiting. We are waiting to react, or we are waiting to also respond until we get information. No, we are being proactive. We are saying that beside our own moving around to actually see to the school safety, there should be community engagement. As I talk to you now, presently in Asaba, we are gathering our personnel and officers, and we are telling them to start, this community engagement. They are already there. Now, a training, we just finished a training with so many other agencies last week, and they have also been deployed to various local governments to at least one community, one school per local government. For a start, for now, that is 774 local government that we are targeting to start this community engagement. So it is from there that it will keep on spreading. Like I said, it is not a once and for all thing. It is an ongoing project. And it will continue that way. So when we are all on board, you will discover that before anything happens, we will know, and it can be named in the board. We're actually not there to start combating probably kidnapping or whatever, because when it happens, it costs more. We are trying to ensure that it does not happen. That is what I am saying. And before you can do that, you have to also put plans in place to do that. So, but I can tell you that as it is.
What do we? Yes, we pray it does not happen. But both guests in the studio, we've talked about drills. Teaching the students drills on how to be safe and escape from kidnappers or anybody attacking their schools. I thought you were going to make a statement over there. What is the NSCDC doing to be able to teach these children's drills apart from community development? The students are the ones in danger here. What efforts will you put into drills of children, safety drills, teaching them safety drills?
Yes, safety drills. That's what I'm saying is that there is also this policy that you don't also take your uniform to schools always so that the children will also not be affected psychologically. And that's from the Ministry of Education. What we are saying is that we are already engaging teachers, telling them teaching them safety drills that they can be practicing every now and then in schools, and giving them a book is already written on tips that we are giving to not only the children but the communities. Because when the children also leave the school, they are also coming to the community. Most of the time that these things happen, it is even outside the school compound. When you don't also ensure that the community is safe, the school will also be in danger because they won't be in school permanently. So that is what we are doing at present. That's what I'm trying to actually explain to you. That as at now, we are trying to get everybody on board, particularly the teachers and the children, so that when we have timely information or anybody suspecting anything, they just give an example of somebody trying to scale a fence. When you see that and you call attention, people will know what to do. And that's why we are getting every school registered so that we can know exactly where what is happening.
Thank you so much there. I'm sure the community leaders will key into the initiative you have there. Group Captain Sadiq, I can see you wanted to respond to some of the things you said. And, most of these things we're talking about here cannot happen without resources, financing. It's very, very important. Without money, that's a cocoa, nothing gets off the ground. So where is the money coming from?
Thank you very much. First, let me just go a little back, because from all our conversation, yes, we understand, we seem to all agree on community involvement. Yes. So, you see, like in most things in our national life, it's not the plan that is lacking. When you look at the national plan for financial school, that is 2003, that thing has been recognized because there's a part 3, which is a framework for building resilience and community participation, with the objective of integrating host communities in the protection of schools and also enhancing school community capacity to react when there's any problem. So it is there. But like always, the problem is, will this beautiful plan be translated into implementation? Will it be sustained? Will there be monitoring and evaluation? But everything security, sometimes I say sometimes it is not the amount of money that you throw, but how well the money is used. How do you monitor and evaluate it? How do you sustain it? The plan, made provision that federal government will give some funding over these 3 years. I think some amount was given for 2023. I do not know, like I said, for 2024, whether it has been because of the
captured in the budget.
Captured in the budget, I do not know that. But apart from the federal government funding, definitely also state governments will have to put in some funding also. Private schools, proprietors will have to put in some, to make sure that the issue is not just hanging in there, it trickles down to the local level. So this is where the issue is. The plan is there, and it has recognized all these elements, and there are non-kinetic and kinetic measures. What I mean, there are issues that has to do with deploying a man with a gun and bullet, but there are other issues that involve community participation, early warning procedures, drill for the children and the teachers. When there's shooting, what do you do? Do you walk? Do you fall down? Where do you have all this?
Captain Sadiq, I'm sorry to interject, because we just have less than 2 minutes to kind of. So please, can you just in few words, for each of the stakeholders involved in ensuring that our students are our children are protected, can you just give us what they need to do, what they ought and need to do at this point in time when children are about to resume or have resumed schools? At the state level, community level, the proprietor, and then even the students themselves.
At the federal government level first. Yes. The federal government level, there's already a plan. Please sustain that plan and ensure that it is properly funded. At the state government, meet the federal government halfway by bringing on your counterpart funding, by building some simple things like fences around your schools. All the things that the state government can do should do. This will include state universal basic education, ministries of education, and all those paraphernalias that are under state governments. For the host communities, understand that having a school in your own community, it's something good for your community. If security is challenged in that area, the government might think of either relocating the school, which will make it more difficult for your children to achieve. And in that case, ensure that you also sensitize yourself, how you put some early warning systems, how you are sensitized so that you can be connected with the security agencies to say what something is going. For the teachers and the students, you also need to know how to inculcate drills. Schools have to evolve their own personal security plans with periodic drills. What do we do? Where do students hide? Where do they take cover? All those kind of things should be taught to the students. This, in short, I think is what all the the stakeholders should be able to do.
Dr. Let's have your
there is need to have a risk assessment review, because probably when the students are academic activity is ongoing, there is something may happen in between when the students are on vacation. So there is need to have a kind of a risk assessment, and then there is need to have a kind of a partnership with media outlets, so that a general sensitization will be made, probably using a short clips that can be sent through the social media, because it's very easy when you prompt something into one WhatsApp group. In 1 second or in 1 minute, it can go to 100 millions. So people will have it. whereby parents will be encouraged to sensitize their children on measures to be taken while in school. And at the same time, the school management, a circular need to be sent around for the by the universal basic education, as well as the private school monitoring units of all the tertiary all the tertiary institutions should have an outline at the gate, whereby they will have a big billboard to outline issues of safety. So when students are arriving with their bags at the gate, and the parent will look at it, probably will understand A, B, C, D, F, G, and then probably at the gate entrance of the hostel and entrance of each of the faculty and departments, that will help. And improve the community-related engagement that will help in mitigating and understanding the issues, and then providing mitigating factors in a harmonious, synchronized way with the community. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Yehuza Getso, thank you so much for your contribution. Security, Intelligence and Investigation Expert, CEO, Director, Forest Criminality Intelligence Center for Security, Intelligence Research and Community-Driven Development here in Abuja. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu, retired Security and Defense Consultant and expert in Safe School Declaration. Your first time in our studio?
No.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you.
And from Asaba studio, we're joined via Zoom by Dr. Hamid Aboduri. He's Commander National Safe School Response Coordination Center, NSCDC headquarters here in Abuja. Thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria. Our sports update is next.